Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be doing part 2 of my book haul for, I don't know, I guess February, March, and probably some in late January as well. But this is all of the other books I've gotten. So I did my first part of this one, which came out last week. I'll link down below to that one if you didn't catch it. But that was all more of the just kind of miscellaneous things. This haul is actually specifically devoted to books that I've bought that are additional books in a series that I've been working on collecting. So like I said, I feel like that makes it slightly better because of the fact that that is the case. We got a lot here though, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So first off, we have Master and Fool by J.V. Jones. This is book 3 in the Book of Words series. I've had the first 2 books of this series for many, many years. And the first book was like falling apart, so I ended up getting a different copy of it. And then one time I was at Half Price Books and they had the third one, so I'm like, oh, perfect, I'll just grab it. It's not the greatest shape, it's in a really old mass market paperback, but that means it matches my other not great mass market paperbacks I have in this series, so I figured that worked out just fine. J.V. Jones is an author I definitely have meant to try. I've heard really good things, too, about this series that starts with The Cavern of Black Ice, but I've had this for such a long time and just didn't really know anything about it, and so I'm excited to try it. It's supposed to be like pretty dark and just kind of different from a lot of other things. So then next we have books 2 and 3 of the Spiro Awkward trilogy by Kate Elliott, Cold Fire and Cold Steel. So I have had the first book, which is called Cold Magic, for a while. I randomly found it at Half Price Books. It's also where I got these later, just books 2 and 3. And so Kate Elliott is an instant buy author for me. Even though this is a series that I've heard, actually, I have heard some people have read it and some good things. And this might not be one that I like nearly as much as like Crown of Stars or like the Crossroads trilogy, which I still need to read. But I wanted to give it a shot because once again, it's Kate Elliott and I already had the first book. It's not in the same size, so I might eventually have to try and find the first book in this size. But so this one, I know the first book starts following a character, Kat, and like there's a big flood and her parents die, and then she ends up having to be like married off to a cold mage. So a mage that does something with cold, I'm guessing. And it's supposed to be like this whole political endeavor and everything and what's going on. And so, like I said, honestly, I just will buy a book if it's by Kate Elliott. At this point, if you saw in my last haul, I bought a specifically YA, like, kind of dystopian book. And I hate dystopian YA. And I don't even know if I'll like that one, but it said Kate Elliott on it, so I'm like, I'm just gonna get it. I'm just gonna get it. So this one sounds interesting. Like I said, I've actually heard some people who liked this more than Crown of Stars, which I doubt I will, because Crown of Stars hit so many boxes for me, and I loved it. But it's Kate Elliott, so I'm still at least going to get it and give it a shot. All right, next up then, which I think this was, I don't remember if this was Half Price Books or if this was Book Outlet, but I got Perfect Shadow by Brent Weeks. This is a novella, I think, that's, is this a prequel? I think this is a prequel to the Night Angel trilogy. Yes, it is. It's a prequel, like a novella to the Night Angel trilogy. I still haven't read the Night Angel trilogy. I definitely will. I haven't, and I meant to for a while because I really liked Lightbringer, and I've heard that Night Angel has some similar issues to Lightbringer that turn some people off, and it's supposed to actually be pretty good still. So it's definitely something I want to check out at some point. So I decided to pick that one up. And then we had, which another one where I found some surprising things on Book Outlet lately, which is bad for my wallet, but pretty cool, because they happen to have the Further Chronicles of Conan by Robert Jordan. Now, I mentioned in previous videos, and it's up here, I got the hardcover of the Conan Chronicles, which is the first one. I got it actually like a ridiculously good deal on Amazon, because this is like a collectible edition, or it's not like a collectible edition, it's collectible like quality basically, where it was pretty much brand new. It's in plastic. I kept it in the plastic because I didn't want to damage it. So I was very careful when I was reading the first story. And then I also bought a hardcover of the Further Chronicles of Conan, but the shipper for that one ended up sending it to someone else. And they refunded me and everything, but I'm like, I wanted the book, and so I ended up just not getting it at the time. So this is not a hardcover like that one is, but I'm pretty sure it's the right edition where it'll have the 3 that come after, or 3 or 4. So I'm like, you know what? I will grab it. It was a good deal, and I just thought it was really funny to see that when occasionally Book Outlet will just get older books like this for no apparent reason, and once again, I'm here for it. So I picked that up, so now I have them all. I still need to read the rest of the first one, which it was interesting. It was really different, but I've always been curious to try not only Conan, but the Robert Jordan Conans. I've heard the originals are a lot better, but so I want to read the Robert Jordan ones. So I can appreciate them for what they are, and then go back and be like, oh, this is even better, as opposed to reading the originals and being like, oh, these Robert Jordan ones aren't as good. So decided to go that route. And then I was very happy to get on Book Outlet Sword and Citadel, which is the second half of the Book of the New Sun. I had previously gotten the first half in this Tor Essentials kind of smaller hardcover-ish book. But yeah, so I now have the whole thing. I know there's more here, but I have the whole, at least, of the Book of the New Sun, which, considering how long these are, I can see why this is split into two. But I have been hearing a lot of really good things like this, especially from Liam's Lyceum, so I'm really, really excited to start this. I really think this is going to be a series that I fall in love with, so I'm super, super excited. I was really glad to find a matching edition, no less, of book part 2. So then, this is, I still am kind of surprised that this even happened, because I didn't even know this was possible. But I've had The Unremembered by Peter Aurelian for a while, which is the first book in a series whose name, Vault of Heaven. I cheated, I looked. But, so they had the second book in a trade, and I have a mass market for The Unremembered, but they had second book in a trade, Trial of Intention, so I got it. It's a signed copy that I got on Book Outlet. So, like, this legitimately is signed by Peter Aurelian. And I feel kind of bad, because I'm like, how many books did this not sell if a signed copy got overstocked and sent on to Book Outlet? So, pretty cool. I'm really, like, I couldn't believe that I ended up getting a signed copy of this on Book Outlet for just, like, normal price. I had no idea. It didn't say it was signed. So that was a really cool thing to happen, but I'm hoping I like this now since I've got a signed copy, but it sounded interesting. I know the first book has very mixed reviews, but it's something that, like, the first book had sounded interesting, and it's a book I've had for a bit. And if I wouldn't have joined the BookTube community and had a million things added to my list, I would have read it by now. Because I got that when I first started my channel before I was, like, really in. But so now I have the second book, and it's signed, so that's pretty awesome. Pretty happy with that. And then finally, the end of the first stack. We still got more, don't worry. Tower Lord, which is book 2 of the Raven Shadow trilogy. So this comes after Bloodsong. Bloodsong I read at the end of January, so I needed to get book 2. I already had book 3, Queen of Fire. And in fact, I also have the duology that came after that and some other Anthony Ryan books. I'd gotten most of them on Book Outlet. I think Bloodsong I bought before, so I just needed to get Tower Lord. So I bought Tower Lord so that I can continue this at some point here, hopefully coming up kind of soon. That's one where I've heard that the second 2 books in the trilogy aren't as good as the first one. But I thought the first was an excellent book, and based on the way it ended, I'm very curious to see where it goes. So I'm not super concerned about that. That's what I've heard, but we'll have to see what my thoughts are. All right. Next up, I have the probably ill-advised purchase, but they had them at half-price books, and they're in pretty good condition, so I got them. But Talon of the Silverhawk, King of Foxes. This is the Conclave of Shadows, book 1 and 2 by Raymond E. Feist. Now, these are within Rift War, like 20-something. I mean, like, these are like way, way down the line. So I've read Magician so far. I definitely am gonna finish out that the first of the Rift War saga trilogy, and I'm really excited to get to the ones he did with Jamie Worth as well. But I just Rift War, I'm pretty sold. I'm excited to continue. So they had books 1 and 2 of this particular one. I just decided to grab them. It'll be years before I get to these at this point, because like I said, they're like in the 20s where they are in order. These are some later books. But I'm really excited because Feist is an author I'd never read, and just Magician really, really sold me. And I've heard so many great things about Rift War in general, so I'm excited for those. Then I grabbed Book Outlet, The Empire's Ruin by Brian Staveley. So this starts a series that comes after The Unhewn Throne, I believe, which I still need to read. I've heard really good things about it, and I've heard more mixed things lately, but I'm still really excited to read that series. And so I have those in trade paperback, and this was hardcover, but once again, it's just one of those things. When it's continuing a series that I have already, this is like one of the like best book outlet looking books too. Brand new, doesn't even have a dot on it. So when I can get those good deals, I'm a sucker for them, and I just do. And then in my January book haul, I commented that I got books 4 and 5 of the Song of Shattered Sands. So then I ended up being able to I found book 2, which is With Blood Upon the Sands, so book 2 of Shatter Sands. So now I only need books 1 and 3 for that series. So I'll have to see if I happen to come across books 1 and 3, also in hardcover for those series, because it's so far I've managed to, like I said, collect 3 out of the 5 books in hardcover, no less, for very, very cheap. So if I can get books that way, that's great. So this will be a series that, since I don't have the first one, obviously I won't be starting for a bit, but I'll keep going with collecting and looking for that. And then finally, we've got some Tad Williams, because after reading Memories Are on Thorn, which I've commented before too, I was just so absolutely sold on Tad Williams. I loved Memories Are on Thorn, and in my last book haul too, I got Shadow Rise and Shadow Play, which my local half-price books had for a long time. As long as I remember being in there, they'd had them, but I hadn't gotten them because I hadn't read any Williams yet, and I wanted to read Memories Are on Thorn first. So I'd gotten those, but then I needed to get the other 2 books. So I got a couple of used, which they're in decent condition. This is why I prefer buying my used books in person, but they're not bad. But I got Shadow March, which is book 1, and Shadow Heart, which is the final book. Yeah, Shadow Play is like 3. So now I have all of these books in hardcover, which will look nice. The only problem is Shadow March looks very different from the other ones. So I'm not sure if that's intentional. It seems to be the matching edition. If maybe it's just something they changed afterwards. But I'm really excited for this. Like I said in that haul too, I do plan to read Otherland at some point as well, because I know Andrew's talked a ton about that. Him really, really loving that first book. I have the first book in mass market paperback that I've had for some time. But my half-price books for the longest time had volumes, I think, 2 and 3 of Otherland in hardcover in really good condition. I didn't pick them up. And I went back, and all they had left was volume 3, Mountain of Black Glass. These are beautiful hardcovers, though, and so I still picked it up. And I'll have to be on the lookout to see if I can get the rest of these in hardcover, because they do really, really look beautiful. So the reason I hadn't picked up this or the other one, because once again, they didn't have the first one, and so I ended up at one point getting a mass market paperback cover of Otherland. But I definitely will be on the lookout for these as well, just because I've heard Andrew say so many great things about this, and he just was recently doing a buddy read for them as well. So they sound great. I love Tad Williams' writing style, and so I am all in for the Tad Williams train. So that's why I picked this one up as well. So that is part 2 of the book haul. Like I said, this one was a little quicker because I was mostly talking about series that I've already started or that I've just been collecting. But that is the rest of what I got for the book haul. So that will complete this one until I buy way too many more books again and have to once again do another book haul video, which is usually just when I do them, when my book haul shelf is too full and I need to move them out to make room for more. So that's the video. As always, in the comments, let me know if you've read any of these, if there are any you think I should bump up, what your thoughts are on these, or any cool finds that you've recently gotten. Of course, give the video a like if you enjoy it. Check the link in the description for the Wizardly Do It Discord if you want to chat these books, other books, or really anything at all. It's a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.